Welcome, welcome, one and all. I am back. There's no other way for me to talk about this. It's been a while since I've done a live stream across all my platforms. So this is not just on Instagram. I do a lot of lives on Instagram, just random. And I've had people say, no, man, they need something that they can plan for. They want to have more interaction. I love the questions that I get. And then, of course, I haven't done any for a while on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter/X. So I set up Instagram here, and I want to just make sure that it's working before we really get into the meat of the matter. But ultimately, see, I need to make sure that I mute Instagram. Yeah, I can't see the Instagram questions in here. I can see comments from elsewhere, from pretty much all the other platforms, and see how many people are viewing. Get to the same thing Instagram, but I genuinely appreciate it. It is lunchtime on a Wednesday, and I want to do this thing called Wednesday Wisdom. I tend to post things on Instagram that talks about Wednesday wisdom, but I haven't done a live in a long time across the entire audience. Today I want to focus initially on talking about my book list, my recommended reading book list, which is actually a required book list internally within Bloomerhole Capital and the Bloomerhole Holdings team. And then I want to spend some time each week talking about each of the books individually and what I've learned from them. So today I want to take some time to go through the books, but answer questions as people bring them up. And that's something that I think is important. I used to feel that I needed to achieve something very specific before I can be of value to people in terms of sharing ideas. And it's because of imposter syndrome. So I wanted to go public first on NASDAQ. You see a certain net worth, you can look at how much my shares are worth. And then it means that I have more credibility. But I've learned that you're not promised tomorrow. And so you don't need to wait for more credibility. It's like waiting to break the world record before you talk about what you've been doing to train to become a really good sprinter. Usain Bolt didn't wait until he broke a world record to talk about what he does and what he's trying to accomplish. And so we should learn from that. That's not bravado. That is not being arrogant. It's just saying, hey, here are the frameworks that guide my life and my decisions. Here's what I've been doing. Here's how it's helped me go from here to here. I'm not here yet. I'm on my way there. By the way, I've learned from some people who are already there. Here's what I'm learning, and here's how I'm applying it to my life. Some people will ignore you. Most people might actually ignore you. And so what? It don't matter. Focus on your tribe and those who actually want to learn from you, who want to share and be a part of that process and be part of the journey. So I'm here testing. So look at this, David. Somebody said David could be a really good dancer DJ. He's got the acquired voice for it. No, my talking voice could be a DJ. I can't actually DJ. I think DJing will be hard. And it's funny you bring that up, right? My whole journey really started with something key. So my brother and I launched a website. And this is back in September 2001, we created the company. February 1st, 2002, we launched realvibes.net at the time. And so Real Vibes grew to become the largest website for Caribbean music videos on the web. How did we end up launching that? Well, because we had a sound, right? When I was 18 at University of Miami, my brother was 17. He came to UM and we started a little sound system. We were too young to get into the parties. It's just, right, we're at college, right? I started college at 15. Went to University of Miami at 17. My brother did the same. So he's 17. We can't get into the parties. So our solution is that you walk with the box, right? You need to carry the records to get in. And then we decided on campus we can DJ. So we partner with two of our friends and we create a sound called Dimension Disco. And we're going to be DJs. I mainly handle the soca segment or bookshelf rhythm. Harder ones to mess up. Diwali, all these things came out later. And so we end up DJing Dimension Disco. My name was Shatta D. My brother was Quicksilver, yes, from Silverhawks. So we spent a lot of time on the mic, a lot of time going to these parties. And then I made 2 mix CDs. I made Caution Volume 1 and Volume 2. And it was Super Dupes and Bobby Chin from Black Chiney. And then Willie Chin, who helped me to get the CDs out and first get them. So the first one did well. They loved it. Dupes talked about some of the remixes I tried to do. So back then I used Acid 3.0 to make those remixes. And in fact, that first CD is available right now on my SoundCloud. You can go back and listen to the remixes that I made back then. It was fun learning that software and understanding how to make a mix CD and working on these remixes where you come up with an idea. Even some of the remixes, we made them using turntables. We had to record it. Right? We had to figure out how to record and then put that into the computer to then output it into the mix CD. DJ GQ had a CD duplication business, so he duplicated the CDs for us, did the thermal imaging on there, learn how to use Photoshop and design the flyers, and then the guys behind Absolute Entertainment, they had MPBC designs, and they printed the flyers and the inserts for the CD. So we got to build some really interesting relationships, and it taught us about distribution, about marketing, about music, about how you actually find your audience. Coming out of that, we ended up launching Real Vibes because we got access to some new music that wasn't out as yet, thanks to, this is one of the most famous record stores out of Jamaica. Had a store down in South Miami. When I say South, I mean 45 minutes south of University of Miami. So that's south of Coral Gables. And so we would go there and we would buy, pretty much every Wednesday we'd go and buy 45s, right? The small records. And that's what you would go and play, mainly 45s. We built up a great collection. And it's been fun. Those are the people who are some of my first investors. This is why we have Steve Urchin, right? This is Steve Wilson, Mystic Urchin. Steve is Sean Paul's manager. He's one of our shareholders and advisors. We have Walter Fire as a shareholder. We have Stephen McGregor. We have two other guys out at TOK. We have people like Wayne Marshall and Tammy supporting what we're doing. This is why we know them. We built these relationships, started back in 1999, going into 2001. So my life really is owed to music. Real Vibes was our first ever true startup. It was the first business. Random Media LLC was a Florida company. Real Vibes, and it was a website. So we learned a lot from that. And we will bring back that Real Vibes name. It sits on the Blue Moho. But I love that you say about the DJ voice, right? We spent countless days, not hours, days in studio, mainly going to Don Corleone's studio, Vendetta, when Elephant Man is doing Pond River, Pond Bank. We're in the studio recorded. We're the only ones that were there when he wrote that song. Connected with people like Gil Green, who was shooting music videos in Miami and getting to go behind the scenes. And I got to be in some videos. So it's important to understand you can look at a person and you have no idea what their life experience is. You have no idea what their life experience is. And I don't talk about that part as much. This is Delano and Jazzy T, some really interesting people. So, big up. This is Joshua Gallant. Taffin. I mean, we have some people who know me from the Real Vibes days and know me as a guy that climb up on top of speaker box and I show you all the new dances out of Jamaica. Right? We were on Telemundo's Roof on Fridays, thanks to DJ GQ. They shot in Miami for Mundos on Fridays, and the Roof was really big, pushing, obviously, as you know, coming out of Puerto Rico in particular, reggaeton. But we would bring the dancehall on the Friday, and I would be on screen helping to show some of the new dances. And it's aired in 14 countries, including Jamaica. And our friends in Jamaica right now that will bring it up when they see me dancing at a party. That was an incredible experience, seeing how they did a live show. We got to meet people like Evie Queen and Don Omar and see how these people took our music, wrapped it a little bit, and then were more professional in how they approach it. So if someone said, David, ever hear of a song called Silverhawk in Jamaica? You probably know my dad. So I don't know the people from Silverhawk, but yeah, Silverhawk is one of them classic sounds. Just like how you talk about Bass Odyssey, right? Or Stone Love, Renaissance is foundation as well. So yeah, man, we know Silverhawk. So now we're going to get into the music thing. I love this. I really appreciate it. But for me, and I want to talk about why. Why am I doing this live stream and why I'm going to do more? Yesterday, somebody sent me a message. This person had been on an interview with me on Sunday afternoon. It aired on Scene TV, CEEN TV, on Sunday evening. Is now up on YouTube today. And they sent me a video yesterday saying, hey, saw this video. I want to know, what book were you reading in this video? I'm here talking about Jamaica and dealing with crime, for example. And so the book I showed them is actually Jamaica's Vision 2030. So I actually have it here beside me. So all I'm doing is reading from this book, Vision 2030, published in 2019. And this is a national consensus plan for Jamaica's development. And it laid out everything, every single problem Jamaica has, every solution. And I would just read from it and then say, hey, where we reach? it's so funny. I have another one. This is the medium-term socioeconomic policy framework from 2009 to 2012. This is what we're supposed to use to grade people. Every 3 years, one of these was supposed to be released. So I'm saying to this person, it's an older Jamaican who is big in the diaspora, mainly on the education side, and he can't believe that this thing exists. And that I'm reading from it. And he says, I want to have you come and co-host a show with me talking about Jamaica and national development. And I say, all right, well, I kind of put in my time towards what is urgent and important. We're going public on NASDAQ. So for one reason, going public is really late, and I'm not making time for this other stuff. So I can come in as a guest. I don't really want to be a co-host and lock down myself every week. He streams every single week with Jamaicans.com. But what perked my interest was that he sent me a video that is from 2020, shot in my living room in Jamaica. And I was just like, ratted. During COVID, when COVID hit, right, March 2020, the world lockdown, which totally puts a pause on our work with our investment bank to try and pull this deal together to list the first vehicle on the NASDAQ that gives retail investors access to the Caribbean. Right? We go on Bloomberg in January 2020. So that this is what we're working on. We have the investment bank we're talking with, and we have our securities law firm in place. And then COVID shut it down. And none of us expected this. And we had no idea how long it was going to go on for. So it totally blew up our plan in terms of timing. Right? Afternoon, carry on. So the timing gets messed up. Nothing to do with us. And we don't know when it's going to obviously dissipate, when things are going to get back to normal. And I don't even think we're back to normal anymore. But when can I travel again? Because traveling is required for me to go and raise money. It's a roadshow. I have to go and meet with people in private, in dinners, in their homes, and then in public, do events. And I decided, you know what? I can't keep doing this. I'm going crazy being stuck at home. So I'm going to teach myself how to stream. Let's get into live streaming. So we started on Facebook, got the platform, and started doing that. And I made it regular. And I created a show called Island Forward. So 1 week, I would be talking about issues from the Jamaica Vision 2030 and how it could help Jamaica, and partner with Jamaicans.com. So we're streaming it via Jamaicans.com Facebook channel, and then it stays on YouTube. And then coming out of that, the opposite week, I would interview somebody. So 1 week I might talk about agriculture policy and food security. The following week I'm going to interview someone that's in that space. I want people to learn as much as I'm learning and bring on essentially people with domain expertise. And I did that. And then people wanted me to do a second one. I called it 2 seasons, right? So I stopped, paused, take a break, and then came back and did a second season. And like this, how do we get the book for Vision 2030? So it's a PDF now. You can go on the Planning Institute of Jamaica. I believe it's pioj.gov.jm, and it's on there. So just Google Vision 2030 Jamaica PDF, and then you can download it. You'll be shocked at what is in there. And it was consensus between opposition, the party that was in power, civic society, private sector organization in Jamaica, Jamaica Manufacturers Association, Exporters Association. There's a plan, and they're just not following the plan. And that's just the reality. But having done Island Forward for those 2 seasons over a year and a half during COVID, it actually became an obsession, right? I started with just my phone. So it was just a phone, holding it up vertical, put it against something. And then slowly I kept changing the background. And my wife used to laugh about how we adjusted certain things and where the house was actually shooting. I even bought, poster board so I could have a different color background. And so we had a lot of fun testing that until eventually I worked with my good friend Kyle Eitel, who used to run the film company we had in Jamaica, Real Vibe Studios, to figure out what should we buy to help us shoot this up. So he helped me put together a nice little wish list on Amazon, still have it now, of all equipment. So the Yeti microphone and the camera stands, all these things. And lighting. Like I have lighting here. I have one down here in my home office, and I have one actually upstairs in my room, in my bedroom, that I can use for another kind of setup. I really loved it. It felt like I was hosting a radio show and interacting with people. Podcasts are good, but podcasts are not interactive. They get comments after. Live is interactive, and that's what I love about this, especially when you do Instagram Live. So when you pay attention to someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, he keeps saying that you don't need to do the same traditional marketing and traditional PR that we've seen before. Nowadays, it's just this. All you need is a phone, right? Right now, you're watching this video on my phone. My phone is what is streaming this. I went and bought the new Apple iPhone 16 Pro Max because I want the best quality and I use it to shoot other content. But that's what you're watching on. It's not some big fancy camera I go buy. I bought a decent light off of Amazon. I have the camera, I have a stand, and I have a Yeti microphone over here plugged in. And then I figure out the software. I didn't pay somebody to go and set this up. Right? I did this. But part of the reason I know I could do this is because when I was working at Jamaica National, I worked at Jane 3 times, 2001, 2006 to 2007, and in 2009. We did an annual general meeting that was live streamed. They were originally looking at an issue, oh man, where we're going to host it. Pegasus can only host so many people, and we want as many members as possible to come. It's a building society, a mutual organization. So it's like a credit union. So it's not outside shareholders. And I said, why are we doing this thing where we have to bring everybody come to the one place when we have all these branches across Jamaica? We have representative offices in the US, Florida, New York. We have a representative office in Toronto and a rep office in Canada. Why don't we stream it to the people and allow them to ask questions? Everybody's like, oh, how much that going to cost? How are you going to do it? And we decided to have 5 satellite locations. So we did Kingston, the main one at Pegasus. But when we went out and had satellite locations in Spanish Town, out in Morant Bay, in Ocho Rios, Montego Bay, right? And then we did Florida, so New York, Toronto, and England. And we wanted people to be able to ask questions. So I created Twitter accounts for each satellite location so that they could ask, they would get the questions in the branch or the satellite location, vet the questions, and they would post the questions, and I would have it show up on a screen at the AGM. And I remember sitting there, I tested all this stuff. We had a company that was going to be shooting video. I tested FireWire cables so they could work. We used Claro at the time. I tested their 3G network around the island, and we figured out where it could actually work. Did tests in every single place. Had to train somebody how to get the questions, how to upload, how to launch it. And that was it. I sat down at that AGM that year and ran the live stream, which is the only time they've done multiple locations and with a live stream with questions being asked to the board of directors and the general manager, Earl Jarrett of the company. And it felt so good. I remember somebody walked up to me while I was there asking me how much I charge to do this. And I said, what do you mean how much I charge? And so this whole live stream thing that you're doing right now, this is brilliant. You know, we need more of these annual general meetings. This is 2009 to be live stream. And I was like, I don't charge for it. I am in charge of electronic channels and distribution for Jane. I run digital marketing. I work for Jane. Oh, what? You work for Jane? I didn't know that. I thought you're an outside firm that was hired by Jane to do this. And I said, no, this is entirely me, and I train one person here, and then I have one person at each satellite location that I train in how to do this. I think that we tend to think things are too hard, but having taught myself how to code the websites, how to edit videos and get them to stream from 56K all the way to 300K bitrate, right, BPS, and then have to teach myself Photoshop and how to go under that, and code PHP, had to do a lick of JavaScript. I believe we can learn anything we decide to learn if you put your mind to it. But you have to be passionate about something. I'm learning to do this because I want to do something with it. I don't want to just code for the sake of coding. I want to build a website, and so I'm going to learn how to do it myself rather than pay somewhere to do it and not have a clue, right? You don't have to do everything yourself. I think it's important. That's like saying you need to go and learn how to grow corn so you can make popcorn. That's not true. I want to understand the basics of growing corn, but I don't actually have to learn how to do every single part of it. You need to be smart about your time and how you value that time. But it never hurts to learn some of those things if you can put it to use. So my learning coding with Blumaho, with Real Vibes back in the day, which I actually learned to code on my own personal website, myhongkongfilms.com, and then put that to use with Real Vibes, has allowed me to launch each of our first websites. My wife and I launched the first website. She designs our first business cards that we're going to print. I can use Canva and do some basic design. We save a lot of money to spin up the basic sites. Then you bring in somebody else later when things actually hit. Setting up the email itself. So I don't have to pay somebody for that. When I say PHP, heresy. It's on Instagram. I'm saying PHP is heresy. Yeah, man. Back in the day, that was so much fun though. So it's the same way we had to learn to edit videos. I don't need somebody to come and do all of that stuff. The same way when you see some of our content posted now, when we do micro content, and you see it is edited, all right, we chop it up, and then you have the subtitles. Is me actually a person that do that? The graphics, we have somebody that creates the templates and I can now use them, but it's me personally going to do it. We'll scale beyond that. Right now, we do things that don't scale. When somebody saying, "Good afternoon, Mr. Well, it's LinkedIn user," so I can't say the name of that person because I guess on LinkedIn they hide the name. Hey, feel free, remember, you can send any questions you want to send or comments as well. But I want you to understand that if you decide that learning this thing is going to be beneficial as a skill to your journey, it doesn't have to be a business, it could be within the organization, then you can do it. But you first have to believe that you can learn it. And you may not know how it's going to come in handy, but I guarantee you're going to find some point in your life where you say, "Man, you know that thing I didn't learn? I can put it to use right now." In my case, it has become extremely useful. Understanding digital marketing has been a major benefit to me. So somebody, AG Chinwealth on Instagram, is asking, from where you sit, what is the best side hustle for a Jamaican to start from an online perspective? I love that question. From where I sit, what is the best side hustle for a Jamaican to start from an online perspective? So what I will answer is this, and it's not just a Jamaican thing. There is no best side hustle. I do not agree with side hustles. You need to focus. You have to decide on what you want to be known for, right? Are you going to be a jack of all trades and a master of none? Or are you going to be top of mind for one thing, right? So in my opinion, in order to be successful in life, you need to pick something to be good at. You're going to be a really good lawyer, there's a corporate lawyer, a really good doctor, and this kind of doctor. You want to specialize. That is how you can get to charge more. You increase your income by specializing and then being known for being really good at this thing. When you choose a side hustle, there's two problems. Number one is on the side. It is not that important to you. Then you cannot put time into it. You're spreading your time too thin. You're spreading your capital too thin. So that side is not good. It needs to be main, not side. Number two, it's a hustle. We're not interested in hustling. Hustling is trying a thing, not to make a little money. That cannot be what you're focusing on. You want to focus on solving a problem for a paying customer and then scaling it. So the time and energy you would spend on a side hustle should be spent on being really good at what you do right now. Or if you don't like what you do, you need to spend that time on getting really good at something you do enjoy doing so that it can replace the job. So if it's going to be a side hustle, it needs to become the main job. The point of doing a side hustle is that becomes the main thing you do. So if you're working in marketing for a company and you don't like it, but you really want to go and open a flower shop, probably you need to spend some time studying flower shops, understanding how they got started, what they need to do to make money, what their margins are, identify a location, say, great, how do I get the money to go and leave my job to go open the flower shop? Or can I hire somebody to go and run the flower shop while I stay safe? And then when it takes off, then I can switch over. It cannot be a side hustle. That's my belief. I don't believe in side hustles. I don't support side hustles. I want people to focus on being really, really, really good at something, specialized, be top of mind for something. And being asked, do you think a payment app like Stripe or PayPal could be ideal for the Caribbean, but it's suited for just Caribbean users? So it would send money within the region and eventually globally. So people are working on that, right? There's no question that payments is a huge opportunity for what exists in the region and elsewhere. Jamaica and the Caribbean is not unique with that problem. It's the same problem that you have in Africa, same problem in Southeast Asia, same problem in Latin America. The Caribbean is a much easier location to start testing in first. I keep trying to tell people you can bring a minimum viable product into a small market with very reasonable regulators. So you start in Jamaica or Bahamas or Barbados or Guyana, test it there first, work on it, get the kinks out, then start scaling regionally, then start scaling globally. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can study M-Pesa and look at what they have done there. This is more than 10 years old. It's been working before. So understand the competition you're going to have with much larger markets and a massive head start. So yes, there's no question that we need payment solutions in the Caribbean. We are looking at investing in one right now. We think there's a real opportunity in that space. And yes, Stripe for the Caribbean is too small. It needs to be bigger than that, but we need that. All you have to do is just look at what has been done over the last 20 years in mainly in India and the US, and they can all work. I've seen this interesting one. Great energy being transmitted. Respect for your time and discussion. Hey, Ted, now I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, look at this. Alexi, boy, know this man since 1991, high school. One of my key good friends, a big, a key shareholder and supporter. So Alexi is saying, as you can see, you talk about focus. What is your decision framework for deciding what you learn to do versus what you outsource? Example, you spoke about learning to code, but someone may have said outsource that so you can focus on something more valuable. So that's a brilliant question. So at the time, we had to learn how to code for the website because we didn't know how to code. So I wanted to launch it. I need to give you the full story on that one, the coding one. But let's start with you learn what is required that you don't have money to pay for. That's it. If you're a startup, you don't have the money to pay somebody to build a site. That's why you typically have a technical co-founder on the team, right? They go and they build, for example, Airbnb together. They didn't pay some outsider. They didn't pay some developer in India or Ukraine to build it. That's not how it works. Somebody on the team knows how to code. And so you get cracking. In my case, I came to the US at 15 for college, right? I've been back and forth between Jamaica and Miami, but came here for college in 1996 at age 15 after Alexia and I finished high school. And first thing I started doing was buying Jackie Chan and Jet Li movies in Walmart, because in Jamaica at the time we had a theater called State Theater, and all those movies were 21 and over. I couldn't watch Drunken Master and all these things because we're not old enough. For some reason, those were 21 and over movies. So I come here now, and the first thing I started doing is building up this Jackie Chan collection and Jet Li collection. Eventually, I bought everything I could buy in the store, and I started buying online. There was a website that I could buy from, some on eBay as well. And so I'd order these movies directly from Hong Kong. Some of them were horrible. So I decided this can't be right. I need to find a way to review my own collection and put that on the web so other people can say what is good versus what is not good. And then they can make a decision to buy. Literally, I wasn't trying to make money, just I want to put up my collection. So I bought the URL, myhongkongfilms.com. And then my friend Corey Churnside had built a website worshiping the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolutions. So Evolution 4, 5, eventually 6 came out in 98. So he built a website. I was like, oh man, Corey taught himself how to code. Yo, I can do this then. And so I taught myself how to code so I could build myhongkongfilms.com. And then I would rank my movies on a 5-star rating scale from 1 to 5. That's how it started. Ended up partnering with hkflix.com. So you could actually click an affiliate link on my website and buy from hkflix.com. And then I would earn a small commission. And that then leads into Real Vibes, which focus on Caribbean culture, not Asian culture. The funny thing coming out of my Hong Kong films as well, though, is that gave me the connection to IGN. I got connected to their film. IGN.com is one of the largest US men's websites. IGN had their film section reviewing films, and they would do some Asian stuff. So Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, for example. So I would interact with the film editor and talk about some of these movies. And so we became good friends. Eventually, my brother and I got to be extras in Too Fast, Too Furious. John Singleton is filming in Miami. We have a branded car for Real Vibe. This lowered 1996 Honda Civic hatchback with a SI engine and full SI brakes. This brakes all around. The Mugen rear spoiler. We got Aerospeed to sponsor the car. So we have carbon fiber bonnet and the rims from Aerospeed. We had the bucket seats. Mom did the internal stitching. We got this nice blue leather stitching. I mean, we had fun. So the store that would help modify the car for us, they said, hey, we're inviting all the cool cars to come to this event. John Singleton wants to pick some cars for the movie. We went. He wants a car in the movie, but we have to take off the branding. And we said, no, you can't take off the branding. That's the point of the car. It's a promotional vehicle. This car used to be parked up at stages and all these parties in Miami. He said, well, we can't have the car in there with the branding. And I was like, okay, well, you can't shoot this movie in Miami, based in Miami, and you don't have Jamaicans in there. Miami, full of Jamaicans. I'm sorry, no problem. We can be extras. So we would leave school for 7 days. We'd go and shoot. Skip class and we shot for almost 12 hours. Per day, we get to hang out with Ludacris, and we're hanging out with Paul Walker. And so we're in the opening scene of Too Fast, Too Furious. You see me in a red and white shirt and a black cap to the side. And it was a lot of fun getting to see how they made these movies. Our request to John Singleton, though, of course, RIP, and Paul, RIP, was, can we take behind the scenes pictures of the filming of the movie and then share them on our website? And John said, no problem. So we took about 116 pictures, created a gallery on Real Vibes, because we're taking pictures at parties. So we created this gallery, posted the pictures, and I reached out to the film editor at IGN and said, hey, my brother and extras, we got these pictures. John Singleton said we could put them out. You guys should write an article. You can use our pictures. So he goes and writes an article and only puts 3 of the pictures in there. David Mullings and his brother Robert were extras for the opening scene for Too Fast, Too Furious, shot in Miami. Check out these 3 pictures. To see the rest of the pictures, go to this website, realvibes.net. And so we would have you go to the gallery, but we had a Sean Paul video right there for you to go and watch as well. And we watched the traffic skyrocket on the website. So think about that. I was collecting Jackie Chan and Jet Li movies. Right now I have 54 Jackie Chan movies, 33 Jet Li movies, 21 Chow Yun-fat movies, another 15 Donnie. And I mean, I collected these movies. Me collecting movies, a hobby, and not being able to find, back in 1997, reviews, forced me to learn how to build my own website. Connected me to the film editor of what became a major men's website. It leads us to go and do our little car, launch our own website about Caribbean culture, which then gets into a movie, which then goes back to the same IGN guy, which then helps to scale the traffic to the site. So you cannot plan that at all, I'll be honest, but you can learn and you can put it to work. So I learned out of necessity. If you have capital, you pay somewhere to do that part. You find somebody with domain expertise who wants to work with your team, and then you pay them. And that's how I would describe it. But serendipity has a way of working out, certainly in my life. I like this one. To your point, my corporate coding parlays into my project, saved tons of dollars. That's exactly right. Somebody's saying that on somebody's saying that on Instagram. But of course, somebody is saying, no, I have to go back and watch the film. Yes, the opening scene with the 4 cars on Too Fast, Too Furious, right? So you're going to have the Skyline, the silver Skyline GTR 34. So that is there. You're going to have the brown Nissan, the Supra, the Toyota Supra. You have a red Mazda RX-7, and then you have a pink. This is Aoki, the pink Honda S2000. So that opening scene in Too Fast, Too Furious. All you're going is a glimpse you get to see me, but it's a red and white shirt and a black cap. And it was such an amazing experience to get to be on this on set, because I've loved watching behind the scenes. I've loved movies, I've loved filmmaking, and I've always wanted to get into film, which is why we have a film company in Jamaica, and we'll do a lot more with it. But that's what I would say, Alexi, when it comes to deciding what you would choose to learn. I do have a decision-making framework separate though. And so let me see if I can actually find the framework and share it. Because of your framework question, I think it's very important to understand how people make decisions. I'm not saying that this is the best way to do it or the only way. It's important to understand how other people think. If you think this person is doing something well, you should understand why. How are they making decisions? Because they have to prioritize stuff, right? So I talk to a lot of wealthy people to understand how they do that. So whether this is Robert F. Smith or Michael Leachin or reading about Steve Jobs and these various people, I want to understand what is their decision-making framework, not just their investing framework. Warren Buffett has an investing framework. I need to understand how you step back just at a decision-making level, right? We have so many things being thrown at us, and the more visible you are, and certainly the wealthier you seem, is the more stuff even come at you. It's fascinating. But let me see if I can actually find this, because I know I do have it on here. I'm a computer, so I'm going to see if I can pull up the image. I have an image on here, and I will try to put it up and share the screen. So any other questions in the meantime while I start looking at the framework thing? I didn't plan to do this. That's why I don't have this ready for you guys. So look at this. This is so funny. We talked about film a while ago. You see how serendipity work? I just get a WhatsApp message from Jamaica's film commissioner. Just literally messaged me right now. Right now. I love that I just talk about film and Jamaica. And the universe will say, yeah, man, Jack's are going to follow up with you right now. So great stuff. Thanks. Yes, you don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your systems. Frameworks are essential. Alexi, I'm going to repeat that. You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your systems. Systems and processes are crucial to grow in your business. I don't care how big your ambition is. Right? Blue Mountain Capital has a massive ambition to be listed on Nasdaq and be the first listed vehicle outside the Caribbean, giving retail investors access to the Caribbean. Great. What's the systems and processes in place for us to actually make this successful though? Listing is easy. Staying listed is hard. Staying listed requires systems and processes. I sent an email today to our outsourced CFO services firm because they asked me some simple questions. They want to know, how are you tracking everything right now, right? Income, expenses, investor funds that are coming in our Reg CF. They want to know how I'm doing it now. And then they want to be able to layer on top of that how they recommend that we do it going forward so we can close out our monthly books easy. That way we can have our quarterly books ready within 48 hours to then go to the auditors. And the auditors can move quickly as well, because we have to do audited financial statements on a regular basis. We have to make filings with SEC going forward. Come January, we have to make all these filings. It's public. Systems and processes are required for that to work. It's just straightforward. You cannot scale without systems and processes. Too many people are focused on the side hustle mindset where they're not building in systems and processes into their business. In fact, they don't think they need that. They don't go and read any books at all. They don't try and look at how other businesses are doing it and then figure out we're going to scale, right? Systems and processes for scaling sales, for dealing with marketing, for how you deal with customers, right? What sequence of emails get sent to a prospect? How do you respond? What's email 2, email 3? When do you call them? Those are systems and processes. And then you want to train them and put it in a training manual so you onboard people and you train them. So they say, this is how we do it here and here's why we do it this way. By the way, do you have any suggestions that you would like to bring to the table? Can we enhance this? Now, assume that your way and systems and processes that have been working so far can improve. Always understand that there's room for improvement. Japanese call it Kaizen. There's a famous Harvard business case study called the Toyota Way, and they talk about Kaizen and Kakushi. Kaizen, those are your Six Sigma. You know it. Kaizen is continuous improvement. Kakushin is a rapid change. Toyota embraces both. The key thing, though, is continuous improvement. Please repeat the systems mantra again. Alexei, you get quoted. You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your systems. All right? No, say late, no one hear that one. You know, so the whole time I'm talking, I don't go and look for this thing yet, right? let me go and look. You know, actually I have it. All right, hold on. Boy, the framework question, man. I should have been prepared for this. And I was here to talk about books. I have books to pick up and show you. I was going to go through my book list, and this man showed me a question about framework. But I think it is an important question. So I want to go and find the frameworks question. And I do have, let me see it in here. I have a folder for when I do speaking engagements. And so the graphic should be in there. I do have it in the photos section though. Wow. All right. See, this stuff don't search as well as you want to know. This is what I mean. You don't have Google on your computer, right? It's not on the desktop. All right. I found my overnight success presentation and it should be in there. So I'm going to just double check right now. And of course, it's in Keynote. No surprise there. So I'm opening. Boom! Found it. Found it. You guys are actually, you know what? I can screenshot this because I can share it. I think I can do that. Hold on. Now we don't have to share the screen thing. Let me see now. So I can do that. And then I can stick it on the screen. Can't see I haven't done this in a while. So, nope. Get back on the stage. So I'm on the stage. I'm messing with this now. All right. So we have this image. Present. I can do a slide. And I can do it from the computer. Upload a file. Okay. Resend. It won't let me use a screenshot. It wants me to use a presentation. That is not fair. But watch this. I am going to upload something here to the overlay. So I'll add that over. Meet smart. I didn't plan for this. I'll plan for this next time, guys. I'm about to put this on screen. I hope that you still hear me. Ooh. I put in this on screen. Can I picture in picture? No. All right. Since you're asking framework, this is important to look at. We're going to look at the white squares first, not the gray squares. So this is my decision-making framework for opportunities. I'm going to get a lot of opportunities getting thrown at me in my life. How do I decide which opportunities to actually take on, right? So I decided I can only do 5 things in business and 5 things in my personal life. And this includes time with the family and the sports that I'm going to play, the hobbies I'm going to have, the nonprofits I'm going to dedicate time to. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you don't rise to the level of your ambition, you fall to the level of your systems. Yeah, man. Gems. So think about this now. I was looking initially in my life, I decided I'm going to have 4 criteria to look at, and I'm going to grade them low, medium, and high, each criteria. So we start with risk. An opportunity comes to me, or a sport, a hobby I want to take on. What is the risk? Low, medium, or high? This is why I still have not done scuba diving yet. Somehow I did rally driving, but it's because I felt it was low risk. As very, we had roll cages and things. So risk, low, medium, or high in this opportunity you bring it to me, or the hobby. I want to look at the potential payoff. Is it low, medium, or high potential payoff? Right? I'm grading this thing. I want to look at the capital required, low, medium, or high capital required, total to execute. And then lastly, effort and time required from me for this thing to be successful. Those were the 4 things. And I can only do 5. So if I'm already maxed out at 5 and somebody brings a 6th opportunity, I'm going to rank it against the existing 5. If it is better than one of those 5, then I eliminate one and I switch. I'm going to add. I don't add to my plate. My plate is only this size and I can't go bigger, right? I realized that after saying yes to a few projects that failed, I missed out on 2 important things, and these are the gray ones: outcome control and enjoyment. If I don't have some control over the outcome, I'm not going to bother. And if I don't enjoy working with those people, and if I don't enjoy the project, me nah do it. I refuse to do it. Those are the lessons that I have learned. So those are the things I want to look at. In an ideal world, obviously, we're going to go back and look. In an ideal world, I want to find things that are low risk, high potential payoff, low effort and time required from me, low capital required from me and the team, but are high enjoyment and I have high control of the outcome. That's ideal. It's very rare, right? Blue Moho Capital, I get all of those things because I built the company. I get to hire my team, so I'll enjoy working with them. I totally control the outcome of this company. It's not high capital required as people think. It's actually medium capital required, not low. To me, it's very low risk. We're buying into profitable existing businesses, right? We're building houses to sell to people that, it's a government mortgage. And then, of course, effort and time required is a decent amount, but it's not that I have to work 24 hours back to back constantly. I can work on normal set of hours. So that's important, but not all opportunities are going to be like that. And this is why we're cautious about investing in other people's companies. We have medium outcome control. Might even have low. If it's low, we're not doing it. On the medium side, it means that we can impact the way management thinks. And of course, I need to enjoy the business, the industry, and the people. If I don't enjoy the people I'm going to work with, it does not matter how great the opportunity is, how massive the potential payoff is, and how low the risk is. I don't care. I have learned that it is a waste of time to not work with people, right? To work with people you don't like. You might as well only work with people you actually like. I'm sorry. I'm now 43 years old, going 44, and I don't have time for it anymore. I've spent enough time doing those things. This person said, I have a great project that meets all your requirements. Yeah, man. Hey, man, already have 5. I'm sorry. You got to show it to us. Message DM me, Trevor, and say I'm about a great project that meets all my requirements. Unfortunately, we already have 5. So what is going to happen is that we're going to rank it against the existing 5. And then we will decide if we're going to say, no, not right now, no, not at all, or we're kicking out something. But hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Closed mouths don't get fed. So you might as well send it on, Trevor. I appreciate I appreciate that. He said, this matrix is quite a decision enhancer. Great share. Yeah, man. And then somebody was saying on Instagram, thanks for the framework. That framework matters, right? When I get to talk to Michael Leachin and we talk about his framework, is along the same lines. There's a lot of things that are going to come at you. And the more successful you seem, the more money it looks like you have, or you actually have, is the more people bring opportunities to you. But they don't understand that you get to see 100 opportunities. You cannot jump at all of them. They think their opportunity is the best one since sliced bread. Well, you get to see so many. In fact, they might have seen something similar to one that they're already bringing to you. You have to find a way to quickly say, no, I can't do this. The same way when it comes to hobbies, there are other things I would like to do. My wife and I have not played paintball in a long time. I played on this Jamaica paintball team out at Suncoast. My stuff all raggedy right now, probably might eat it out. I'll be honest. And I would love to play paintball. We played so much when we were in Jamaica. Twice I went out playing paintball. We have full gear, I have tinted goggles, guys. I have neck protector, everything. I look like a sharpshooter when we're out there, right? We have matching jerseys. My wife and I have matching paintball jerseys, man. We're a team. We have not played in years. How we doing some other things instead? We have the kids, and we had to remove something. That was one. I was doing rally driving a year and a half in Jamaica, one class JA3 front wheel drive for the year as a co-driver, as a navigator for our team. I've not been back to rally driving. It took too much time to fly down to Jamaica and do the recce's and then to go and race. And also it cost a lot of money. It was strictly a hobby. Made some great friends. But right now, something had to give. And I'm not giving up football. I'm not giving up tennis. So, and those are the questions. All right, so I see 2 questions here on Instagram. Number 1, planning to do anything in the west of Jamaica. What kind of question that, Phil? We're doing stuff across the entire Caribbean. Of course, we're doing stuff in the west. We're not building any houses in the west yet, though. Right? We have other things we're going to do in the west. And that's what you're going to see. And I love that we have people, especially some of them that know me, it's like them asking for all this stuff. It's like, pretend the company is public already. I can't give you too much details. At least this is being streamed to everybody. So in this case, I could talk about stuff. This would count as an announcement. It's on Blue Moho Capital's YouTube channel or Blue Moho Holdings YouTube channel. But this is not a real estate development company. Stop focusing too much on just the houses, right? What development opportunities do you see for Clarendon, St. Mary, been to St. Mary, and I believe it's vastly overlooked. Well, this is why I bought shares in a company called K-Lee Group Limited in Jamaica. We bought 1.7 million shares. We're no longer the 10th largest. Somebody has 2 million. But we have enough of what we need to do, and we'll push it up again. And the idea behind that is that they have Bessa. It's not just about Traction Records. They're saying both Traction Records restaurants in Kingston and Montego Bay. They built Bessa. So these are apartments and villas, right? 14 villas, 70-something apartments in Araka Bessa, St. Mary. 2 minutes from the Ian Fleming International Airport, which now accepts international flights from, you guessed it, American Airlines flying out of Miami. And that starts December is going to be daily flights. Right now it's twice a week. So we see a huge opportunity there, right? When you look at what has been happening along the Discovery Bay, Ocho Rios, the Miami Bay area, that road is amazing. We think there's more opportunity for development going back towards the airport and close to that side. We are not in the tourism space, although the point of Bessa is that they're going to have a flag put on it, and that company will represent the rooms and be able to rent out rooms and villas to the clientele. So this is not Airbnb, it's higher scale than that. We like that plan. I think there's a huge opportunity around that, and that's why we did buy that. That's on our balance sheet. That is not enough fund. That is directly on the balance sheet of Blue Moho. It's actually in a different vehicle, and we transfer it under the balance sheet of Blue Moho Capital Inc. this quarter. So I do see opportunity there. If we did get into the tourism space, we do see opportunity for higher end tourism, and especially ecotourism. When you think about the Caribbean, you think about heritage tourism as a big opportunity. We think about gastro-tourism, food. Right? People love that kind of stuff. St. Mary, Portland are what we would consider the greenest parishes. I know St. Anne is a garden parish, but in terms of development, these are the most eco-friendly locations in Jamaica, and we can find more of those in Ghana. We've been shown a project in Ghana that we really like. Imagine if you would do the equivalent of a safari, but in Guyana. So glamping in Guyana, Jaguars, the local tribes will be part of that story, so they're earning money from that as well. I think there's a big opportunity for that. In Jamaica, it'll be equivalent to having the Maroons, a compound or so on, do something. So definitely overlooked, but again, we have to be careful not to get carried away diving into the weeds. Yeah, we need to focus on people already doing stuff that can scale. They have systems and processes in place. So when you look at the Choco Caribbean, for example, and what they have been doing, that's incredible. And there's even more opportunity for them to scale that. It's not for us to start everything. We really need to focus on growth equity, the Warren Buffett guy. We're taking capital from investors, from shareholders, we're borrowing money via bonds. We need to do very simple things. So Warren Buffett says this, and I repeat it. You guys are going to hate how much time I talk about Warren Buffett, but that's the plan I'm following. If you're in a baseball game, you don't have to swing at every pitch. That's just the first thing. Well, investing is a baseball game where there are no strikes that are called, and you don't have to swing. Nobody's going to tell you can't stay there in the morning. You have to leave the plate. And you don't have to hit a home run. I just need to get to a base. Right? So I can wait for the perfect pitch. I don't have to go and deploy all this money in every deal. And that's a mistake some people think. They hound me on LinkedIn and they tell me that, oh, if you run an investment firm, you are supposed to be deploying capital and be open to people coming to you. Warren Buffett don't like investment bankers, He don't want you bringing deals to him like that. They're evaluating their deals and they want the owner operators to bring deals to them. They're not interested in investment bankers bringing deals to him. It's rare. It's extremely rare he does a deal that an investment banker brings to him. I am the same way. We need to stay narrowly focused. We don't have to do 50 deals. In fact, I want to do 20 deals and no more. Right? 20 on your punch card is what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger say. If you think you only have 20 on the punch card, you're going to be very careful each time you punch. So when I go into a deal, we go in all in and we're going to do everything with our team to help that company scale. Right? That is what we want to focus on. So when you see me align with something, trust me, guys, me I go hard. I see this great question. So John is saying, thank you, David. I also remember another picture you shared some time ago about choosing what to prioritize, what to delegate, and what to ignore. That was helpful, and this recent framework will definitely help. So yeah, man, let me find that one. This is not mine. Any options on the horizon for the Canadian diaspora to invest in the Caribbean? So yes, that's why we're going public. That's why Blue Mohawk Capital is listing on NASDAQ, because once you're publicly traded, anybody anywhere in the world can buy. That's the point. The reason we are going public is to allow retail investors in any country to buy, but especially outside the Caribbean. So US, Canada, UK, you name it. You just go to your broker and you say, here's a ticker symbol and I'd like to buy X shares of this company. And pay them. It's regulated, audited, transparent, and liquid. Those are the things people needed. Regulated, audited, transparent, and liquid. That is what the diaspora has always wanted. For 10 years I've talked about it. Nobody was launching it. So 4 years after I talked about it, we started launching. So that's 6 years ago. Our goal is to list January of next year. Yeah, right? We've pushed it back from December because we don't want to be the tree that falls in the forest and nobody hear it. So I love that you bring up the one about the urgent. So I'm going to actually just look for that right now. What is urgent and important and so forth. So I'm going to look for urgent important matrix. So just Google it. I'm going to grab the image and then I will share it. So do it, schedule it, delegate it, delete it. So that's exactly what I'm going to pull up and show. It's called the Eisenhower matrix. For those of you who work in consulting, you're going to know this. And let's pull it up. So let me see if I can just share the screen this time instead of pulling the thing. So present, share screen. I'm going to share a window. I can share a Chrome tab. Oh, yeah. Boom. Look at this. That's not the tab I wanted to share. That is not the tab I want to share. So, where is this tab? This is the right tab. So this is the tab I want to share, guys. So check this out. Urgent and not urgent, important and not important. This is one of the most important matrices I can use, right? I mean, it's interesting. I say matrices, isn't it? Matrices, but then that's for math. So we'll see. But if it's urgent and important, you do it first, right? You wake up in the morning, get the stuff done. So urgent and important. If it's not urgent but important, you need to schedule it so you get to it. So I have a whole to-do list, and I have a today list and a to-do list. Today is urgent and important things. It's on my phone, it's on my iPad, it goes everywhere. So I have a to-do list. That means is not as important. It's urgent, not urgent, but important. So I have two lists. I have today, that's for the urgent and important things, and then I have a to-do list. And that's the one, those are the ones I schedule, right? I need to call somebody later or send an email or reply, but it's not important, it's not urgent, right? There's a difference. And of course, the things that are urgent but not important, I delegate it. I hand it over to somebody. So for example, today I needed to send an invoice to somebody for a speaking engagement I recently did. I don't have to take that out. So I sent it to somebody else and I put in the bank account information and send that off. So I delegated that. When somebody reaches out to me with a business opportunity, I delegate that to somebody else because it is not urgent and it is not important. The only ones that are urgent are the ones where we already invested. We actually have money at stake. If there is no money at stake, it's not urgent, it's not important. It goes to the business development manager. They are going to vet it. Then they can escalate it. If it's not, hey, this is a really good opportunity, it becomes important, right? And if it's not urgent and not important, delete it. This is a thing most of us have a very hard time doing. Have a very hard time deleting things, right? Lord, sometimes if I just say no, no is a full sentence. That's what Douglas Arian said to me, former chairman and CEO of Grace Kennedy. Said, David, ask him, what's one piece? Give me one piece of advice, the most important thing that I can learn. And he says, no is a full sentence. You don't have to explain to anybody. You don't have to say, no, not right now. They're not owed your money. They're not owed your time. No is a full sentence. I have struggled with that. I'm here doing this live stream because I love sharing. I love giving back to people. So I tend to say yes, or let me find a way, which then puts me in all sorts of hot water. And then people now feel that I'm obligated to them. And say, you know what? Cancel it. No bother. If you are putting that much stress on me, I should have said no in the first place, and I made a mistake. Every single time in my life that I've said yes, when I was hesitant, it has backfired. Every single time. Because then people feel that if they're entitled to your time, they're entitled to your money. Even when you said yes, but here's what needs to happen, they forget the here's what needs to happen part and then start running down. And then all of those say is like, you know what, you clearly didn't understand what I said, so just don't bother. And then they're going to say stuff about you. But you know what? I have peace of mind. I nearly died once. Nothing bothers me anymore. Every single day for me is a blessing. I got a second chance, and I'm not going to give off my time to people who don't realize that it's charitable to give. Right? It is charitable. This is charity. You don't run down somebody for charity. You're not paying me to speak. You're not paying me to do this. That is charity. That means you should be grateful the person is doing it. They don't owe you their time. So treat it with respect. Otherwise, they're going to stop doing it. And this entitlement mentality is a problem. And it's not unique to Jamaica. This is everywhere. I would say that's crucial. So I say two other questions. All right, this one is great. So, we talked about the diaspora. All right, so question over here on Instagram. What is the vision for development in the Caribbean that doesn't severely degrade the environment, especially since there's limited land space with unique and fragile biodiversity? Of course, this is Wildlife Jamaica asking me that on Instagram. I love it. So we got the tree huggers out. I have a bachelor's of science degree in biology, and I love the ecology class. So I care a lot about people, planet, and profit. Right? We need to take care of the planet as well. So I love the biodiversity. I love animals. I love nature. Nature for me is very calming. And so what I would say is that the plan, you need to look at who has successfully done that kind of development. So when you look at Costa Rica, for example, and what they've been able to do, I think that's a really good model. You look at Singapore, that's also a really good model. So for me, those are two models when we look at development in the Caribbean. Thankfully, with the new new things that have been signed with COP29. I'm understanding that carbon credits, there's a new way that they're working on doing that. So I think more people understand the value of nature when you can actually price in the value. A big part of the problem is that people have not understood the value. So in Brazil, you're going to go and cut down the rainforest to go and have more farmland to then grow beef to go and sell the beef. It's like, wow, guys, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, we needed those trees to absorb carbon dioxide. That's just, why would you cut that down to then go and have these cows that fart up the place and release methane gas and contribute to greenhouse gases and climate change, right? That's just science. That's just basic science. My 12-year-old could tell me that. So when people don't value something, though, then they get rid of it. So in Jamaica, for example, we are converting farmland into housing. Kind of crazy. Like paving it all over with concrete. We don't design our cities to be walkable. Where's all the trees? Where's the shade? Like, hello, learn from somebody like Singapore. But it takes the people with capital to decide that when you go into a master plan community, is there greenery in the plan? Right, start with that. You can just pave over everything with concrete, or are you going to provide walkable master plan communities with green spaces and parks, right? And with trees, shade. You just start with that. It starts with who is actually paying for it, right? It's not the designer that gets to decide that. The person paying for it gets to decide what is a priority. So the person with capital decides that. So he who has the gold makes the rules. That's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. So if you don't like the rules that are in place, then you need to get the gold. That's how I look at it. So we get to deploy money into these developments. So we get to set the priorities. And if you're not going to make green spaces and trees a priority, then we don't write a check and we don't do the investment. Find the money from somebody else. That is our approach. All right, get the goals so you can then set the rules that you believe make more sense. And then we go from there. So it's lead by example. That's really what it has to be. Lead by example. And that's what I would look at. So that is how we intend to develop in the Caribbean side. This is also why I did talk about the whole idea of heritage tourism and ecotourism. You can leverage the biodiversity. Right? You don't know this one, Wildlife Jamaica. You're going to love this. So my first ever paying job in Jamaica was not a private sector job. It was a non-profit job. So I go back to Jamaica January 2001. I'm playing football, right? I graduated December 2000 from University of Miami with a bachelor's degree at 19 years old. Go back to Jamaica to play football for Real Mona Football Club. I'm going to play for the under-20 team and playing on the senior team as well, which National League, Major League team, whichever one. And Earl Jarrett is the chairman of Environmental Foundation of Jamaica, sits on the Jamaica Cancer Society board with my dad, and asked, hey, so how the kids doing? What David doing now? I'm saying, oh, he graduated, he's playing football with Real Mona. I was like, what? What else him doing? No, he's playing football. He's focused on going pro. I bought him a play. And I was like, well, what he did again? Oh, he did a Bachelor of Science in biology, minor in chemistry, religion, and economics. Like, man, you know what? There's this nonprofit called BirdLife Jamaica. We're giving them a grant, and they really need some help. They're based on campus at UA, actually down the road from your office, from Dad's office. I'm saying, you think they would work with them part-time and help them redo their website and their brochure? Because I had taught myself with the code. And him said, I don't know. He'll ask. And so Dad asked me, and I said, yeah, man, I can go into BirdLife a couple of days a week. Is at the Spine on UWI by MedSci, where my dad teaches. I have a bunch of my friends from Campion going to med school, so I can work, get paid, hang out with my friends, go to some of my dad's lectures, drive to work with Dad in the morning, drive home with Dad in the evening, and go football. And so I worked at BirdLife Jamaica. And I did not know that Jamaica had that many endemic bird species in Jamaica until I went and worked there. And it gave me a serious appreciation for the Caribbean and what exists there from a species standpoint. I want the people that would come to the website from abroad were coming down, whether it's, they're going to do a vacation and they wanted to time some bird watching while they were in Jamaica. Before I worked at BirdLife Jamaica, I never even know bird watching was a thing, I never know this exists. People are setting up tours to go out. They want to know where they can set up, what kind of birds they're going to see. And it's interesting. You think about birds and how important that is to the Caribbean. If you go and watch, I believe it's in Dr. No. right? Where does the name James Bond come from? Right? All the James Bond books were written by Ian Fleming in Jamaica at Firefly, which is on the GoldenEye property, so in Orica Bay. So all of them, which actually started, right? He used to stay in Montego Bay first and then bought his house, Firefly, on the GoldenEye property, and that's where he wrote the books. Where did he come up with the name James Bond? Let me see. I'll give you a little time. Don't you might Google it still, but where did he come up with the name James Bond? Right? Anybody going once? Going twice? No? All right. So nobody comment, nobody knows. So James Bond is a name of an ornithologist, right? This is a bird scientist. It's an American ornithologist who wrote a book, Birds of the West Indies. So he writes a book about Caribbean birds. And that's what Ian Fleming is looking at. He sees the book, looks at the book, loves the birds of the Caribbean, and he says the guy's name is James Bond. So he names his character James Bond, an American ornithologist, a bird scientist, right? You can tell I love James Bond a lot, right? I have a golden gun. Oh, wait, which way? This way? A golden gun here. Yeah, my cousin gave me, right? Casino Royale is the first one he writes. So there is a James Bond movie where they have the book, Birds of the West Indies, in there as a prop, as a little homage to James Bond. So it is fascinating about BirdLife Jamaica and how important our species are. I love Wildlife Jamaica. Say, I know you better didn't know because you caused this whole train of thought, which I love. More questions or comments, guys. I'm gonna look and see I wonder which one actually had the Birds of the West Indies by James Bond. I'm trying to remember which movie it was in as a little thing. James Bond movie. Is in the, Okay. So in Die Another Day, Pierce Brosnan is seen examining birds of the West Indies in an early scene. So in Pierce Brosnan's Die Another Day is when they actually have him, they put the book in there that was original inspiration for the name of the character, James Bond. So those are the things that matter to me a lot. So Wildlife Jamaica is saying, glad to hear you need to rejoin. Yes, I've actually reached out and I intend to make a nice gift next year after I go public and support BirdLife Jamaica and then other things around the Caribbean. That's a big thing. One of the things I'd love to do is buy, 100 acres, 200 acres or something of green space and then just make it a trust. When you think about Central Park in New York, I see that as a huge opportunity where those of us with capital who care about these things buy the green space, whether it's from government or from whoever, and then put it in a trust that it cannot be developed. We're going to keep it as a preserve or a sanctuary. I would love to do that. And the day going come when I can write those checks and do that, because we have to preserve biodiversity. We have to preserve the things that actually help the planet work. just there you go. BirdLife Jamaica and Jamaica Natural History Society. See, I don't even know about the Jamaica Natural History Society, so now I need to go learn about that. Wildlife Jamaica, you need to message me privately. We need a whole thing to do in Christmas. I want to come to Jamaica and you take me on a sequence of adventures and record it and post it into these videos online, man, and get people to see what is here and what matters, right? I was out in Barbados earlier this year, and the government had me at a preserve out there. They haven't shared the video or the pictures yet because there's a big announcement that they're going to make, and so we are not allowed to share anything before that. I could share the picture of me being there, but it was amazing to get a tour of that preserve and what they did all the way out to the ocean, and I can't wait for them to share that video. And I was just really impressed that a private citizen is doing that, right? Family had made a lot of money. He's come back, and that's what he's doing with the money and preserving, turn the family land into that. I want to see more of that happening. I see the female version of Instagram is saying, I'm with that. I can have you meet some residents who have some cool birds. Come on, I love it. I can't wait. I love this stuff. Right? Right. So remember, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. That's what I majored in. The class I enjoyed the most were in my ecology classes, and we had to go. So we went down to Isla Morada, right, and Key Largo, and we had to spend the weekend there. Never forget. Right, so it's two memorable things, well, three memorable things on there, man. So we got to swim with lobsters at night, and it was incredible. We went night snorkeling, which was scary as hell. And we felt stuff touching our chest, like we're all snorkeling, holding each other's hand. Every other person a flashlight. I remember feeling something touching my chest. I just assumed it was seaweed. It was shallow. And when we shined the light down there, it was lobster, just crazy amount of lobster on the ground, and the antenna just hung like this. And people screaming and freaking out, and we lost half the flashlight same time. It was hilarious. We went out to a sandbar, and there was a nurse shark. In between, it was a girl and I were in the water, and there was a nurse shark. We saw the tail sticking out of some, a little rock formation. And she went and touched the tail. The guy tell us don't do that, but she wants to go and touch. Nurse sharks, their skin feel like sandpaper. And she got touch a tail, and the nurse shark just back out and turn. Thankfully, nurse sharks aren't actually, they're very docile, which is why people tend to poke them and get in trouble. I swear that girl was running on water. I swear she was running on water when the shark turned around, and I just freeze. I was like, oh, please. Just no. Thankfully, nurse sharks have their mouth at the bottom, so they kind of suck things up. They don't bite. So it didn't get into trouble there. And then two other things that happened. We were playing football one day. We set up two plastic, little white plastic chairs. We set up those chairs as a goal. Played barefoot, and I never forget. A fire shot so hard, it went and hit the inside post and rip off the leg off the chair. The chair was still sitting there and just rip off the inside leg, just tear off the leg off the chair. And everybody was like, wow, David, you can really play ball. You kick it so hard. Man, my foot was so red, my instep from hitting it so hard. So I will never do that again. But the guy had a tank, and they had a place that the nurse shark could come into and they could feed them. And so the guy climbs up on a ladder and then holds a whole chicken here, and he wants to explain to us that sharks can jump. And so he's holding the chicken. He climbs up on a ladder and hold the chicken over. And the nurse shark come out the other side, we're splashing in the water, and then the nurse shark come racing down and jump full out of the water, grab the chicken and drop back in the water. From that day, I don't care where you tell me, I'm not swimming with no shark. I'm not going near no shark tank because it can jump. I was shocked, genuinely shocked. We had to go up to Central Florida, Gainesville, and we spent the weekend there. And I remember we were looking at, it's what? Blue jays. Scrub jays are what they're called. So scrub jays are a bird here in Florida. They look like blue jays, but scrub jays, there's a lot of scrub land. And we had to go out there and hang out with the scrub jays. I call them scrubs. You know what just popped into my head? TLC. No, I don't want no scrubs. My brain is all music related. So no, I don't want those scrubs, right? And the guys going to say they don't want no pigeons. Man. But yeah, so that was fun, that weekend. No swimming with the great whites, even swimming no great white shark. For what? What does that do for my life? Just tell somebody I swam with a great white? For what? How? No, I'm not taking no more risk. I don't care if I'm in a cage. I might bite the cage. I don't know. I don't need to put me in a submarine. I'd rather go in a submarine then. Give me that. I'd rather swim with a whale than swim with a great white shark. And the whale price, it's a whale not sucking me in. Oh, man. You're crazy. Like, for what? When you watch the movies and it's a scary movie, actually, the movie, scary movie, and you see how black people stay, you hear the noise, we're running the opposite direction. You're Jamaicans, we're black too, All of us have black blood in us. I'm sorry, we're run the other way. I have no interest in swimming with great white sharks. Absolutely none. Same song pop in my head. Thank you, Marv. I'm not an idiot. Thank you. So, moving on from the scrub jays, the most favorite thing that I did, I went to 3 and 2. The most favorite thing I did in my ecology class was when I went to Monkey Jungle in South Miami. And we had to go. The way Monkey Jungle is set up is that you are actually the one in the cages, and the monkeys have a lot of free space to roam. And we had to go into their space. I can't even call it going into the enclosure. We had to leave our enclosure and go into the monkey space because we're going to do some tests. We want to understand who is the matriarch, because monkeys have a matriarchal system. Primates in general are matriarchal for the most part. Not gorillas, silverback gorillas, but for the most part. So I remember we saw monkeys that were swimming, macaques. I was like, I didn't know monkeys could swim. So it was fun. And you had the little lion monkey one. But we had to set up this little cage. So what they do is that we set up a little metal cage and we put food in there. and then we're going to observe what happens next. So I'm sitting down beside him, and I had a camcorder, a high 8 camcorder, guys, not even mini DV, high 8 camcorder. I'm sitting there with the camcorder and the strap around my neck, and I'm sitting like this, and the cage is right down beside me, and I'm recording. And the monkeys are coming out, and most of the monkeys came and sat down and don't move and go for the food. And then one monkey came out. These are all silver monkeys, and one of them goes in there, gets the food, sits down, and starts eating. Then the rest of them started to go and get. So you now know who's the matriarch, who really run the show. And it was fascinating to observe. While I'm sitting there, all of a sudden I feel something climbing on me. Now one little monkey climbing up on my shoulder and then start grabbing, touching the screen, right? Touching the lens of the camera, and then another one come and they try to grab the camera and run off and drag in my neck. And I had to take the camera from them. The monkeys wanted to take the camera, but they kept going and poking the lens. And I loved it. It was like having little children around me and just sitting. One was sitting on my head, one sitting on my shoulder. It's like these monkeys are cool. I like them. So I care a lot about wildlife. And it's not that I'm a tree hugger, but I understand the value of biodiversity. I understand the value of nature. Besides the fact that nature helps to calm me, I love going out into nature, but we actually need it. Right? The planet needs nature, and that's how things work. So I appreciate that. But all right, more questions. You realize the main topic I came out here to speak about, we don't even touch the topic yet. Sorry. We actually need to get into the topic about the books. So I'm getting more messages from the film commissioner. There must be something very special happening. So let me pull this up and try and share with you the book list, guys. We're going to share the book list with you. And it's actually on the company website at bluemocapital.com. You can find our book list. When I am going to pull up what I consider required reading within Blue Moho Capital and go through each book quickly and why these are on the list. And then we will talk some more about them going forward. So I love it. All right. So I just needed to make one change, and then I can share the screen. All right. So I'm gonna share the screen now, guys. Ready? Book list time. Because that was actually the reason I was doing this. I love this. This is why live is fun, guys. This is why live is fun. So present, share screen, window, notes. So now you can see this is the book list, and in the order that I recommend people read it. And it's actually a required reading for Blue Moho Capital itself. So some of these you won't need because you're not going to work in investment management, but in general, we're going to go through. So the first one is Find Your Why by Simon Sinek. Most people don't have a why. That's why they have side hustles and all this stuff. They don't have a why. They didn't choose a destination and then work towards that destination. They're just doing what life tell them to do or what their parents said. Go to school, get a job, go and be a doctor or be an engineer or a lawyer. And then they're doing it. And then you hit midlife and you have a crisis and you say, man, I didn't want to do this. I don't enjoy my job. I don't like my life. I'm going to go be a yoga teacher. And you're going to go off and do something else. But you want to know what you really love. So it's important to find your why. And it's especially important because it gives you direction and it allows other people to now think of you for something. It's top of mind. That is what this person is known for. You can now specialize. It's more fulfilling when you have a why. But then when you talk about your why, people buy into it. They love it. This person is baking because them love this article. So finding your why is really important. After you find a why, this is the most important thing in life, is how to win friends and influence people. Whether it's in business or personal life, you need friends. You need to have some influence. How do you do that? So this book is one of the most important books my parents ever gave me. They gave me this book when I was 15 years old. Really important. This book here was, you're not seeing the list. Well, it says that is, All right, anybody else not seeing the list? John Marie not seeing the list. That is why I can add to the screen. I didn't add to the screen. I'm just sharing the screen. Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning. So here's the book list. Find Your Why, Simon Sinek, right? And then, of course, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Tell me you seen the list now, Instagram, please, because I seen it in the stream now. All right. Subtle Art of Not Giving A, as you can tell what that one is. This is really important because most people care too much about what other people think. It impacts too many of our decisions. When people actually don't care, most people don't have time. They're worried about their own problems. We are so worried about doing something, what this person is going to say, if we dress this way, talk or go promote ourselves, do this live stream. What am I going to say? They're not saying anything. They probably don't even know that you're doing it. Right? It don't matter. You might as well go and do it. So how do you train your brain to not care? This book was really good for me. This book was important when I was coming out of the hospital. Right? A lot of you might know Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. His second book is Cash Flow Quadrant. I prefer that book. I think that is a much better book for people than Cash Flow Quadrant. You know, can I make this bigger? I was going to zoom, but all right, never mind. Maybe I will zoom in. So the word, yeah. So cash flow quadrant is important because it talks about essentially a plus sign, B&I, business owners, investors, and employees and self-employed, right? Which one you want to be. We tend to be taught to become employee or self-employed. That's what you should be doing. Our parents typically say, go to school, get good grades, get a job, work, and then retire. So you could become a lawyer, you're working for somebody. You become a dentist, you own your own dental practice, that's a self-employed. But the majority of people who can deploy money the way they want to, donate to the charities they want to donate, to live the lives they want to live, they're on the opposite side. They're on the B&I side of the quadrant. So how are you focusing on becoming a business owner and an investor, or just an investor? You can be employed, and be an investor. There's nothing wrong with that. You can be self-employed and a business owner. You go from being the dentist who owns the dental practice, where you work in the practice. So when you take a vacation, your job, your income takes a vacation. You can move to then being the dentist who owns a dental practice that hires other dentists. Have domain expertise. I think too many people don't focus on that cash flow quadrant. This one now, the psychology of money. The way that we are raised, especially people in middle class and upper middle class families, and then below. So upper middle class and below, not wealthy, are raised to think about money differently. Money is scarce. You have to be careful. You have to save it, right? Money is a tool that really should be invested. And you shouldn't be looking at the price of the suit. You should be looking at the value of it. How long is it going to last? Do I want this versus this? New car versus used car. Why? It shouldn't be that, it's expensive. It's a Mercedes-Benz. Just go and look at it, though. Is it better than something else? Will it last longer or not? Do I get a better deal, right? Nothing wrong with Toyota, but that's the point. You look at something and you can't just look at the price. You have to look at the value. Is this an investment or is it an expenditure? And then if I'm going to treat it as an expenditure, is it something that I want? I want the vacation. I feel I deserve it. I want to enjoy the money while I have it. Or am I going to keep sucking it away, right? You see this trauma in some people who, to this day, are baby boomers who are wealthy, who still have a ton of canned goods stacked in their pantry. That is as a result of having been kids going through the Great Depression or growing up in the late 70s, later on working in the 70s and seeing inflation. So they stock up on goods. Even though they don't need it, they have the money, they can afford it. Mentally, they're stuck there. So you need to understand how you think about money, where you've learned it, and then overcome the things that are holding you back. Right, and then we have Guy Kawasaki, the Art of the Start. Actually got an autograph, one of these from him, and it's important. How do you actually start the damn thing? It gives you the 10 most important slides for your business, helps you to understand what to do. Like actually get started. Too many people spend time doing planning, right? And then you fall into analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis. You spend forever working on a business plan. Launch a business yet. Go launch. Get feedback from customers. Get into the market, guys. Stop planning and start doing, right? So Art of the Start. How to do it. Principles. We need some frameworks on how you're going to operate. So Principles by Ray Dalio for me. Very thick book. Great principles that he's using for his framework. Not all of them, as he says, are for you, but you should implement at least some of them. This one is important. This is the single most important book that I have gotten related to business. Is Execution by Larry Bossidy. The reason this one was important, I remember I was at Jamaica National the first time, 06, 07. I'm on the product development team, helping to design mortgages products, investment products, savings products, the high yield savings account that's in Jamaica, UK, Canada, the US, all these things. I've come up with all these ideas, and I remember talking to Emil Spence at the time. His wife is Joy Spence, the master blender for Appleton. And I said to Emil, man, you see how good I'm doing? I mean, ideas, man. I have all these ideas. And he said, yes, you are an ideas man, David. But you shouldn't strive to be an ideas man. That's not a good thing. And I was like, what? No, man, I want to have the good ideas that I can share with people. He's like, yeah, but ideas don't matter if you can execute them. You need to be known as the execution man, not the ideas man. And he walks me into the second floor where my office is. His office is also there. This is in Halfway Tree at Constant Spring office. And we have a library. So we have our own lunchroom for executives at head office for Jane. And there's a library in there as well. And he pulls out the book Execution. And he gives me that book and said, we need to read that book. Who's trying to call me? Somebody was trying to call me on my phone. Too bad. Right? And give me Execution. And I had to read that book. So I still have a copy of that book. It's actually on the shelf over here without a jacket. Sorry, I've never returned that book, but it was that important. This one here, Upstarts by Donna Fenn. Donna used to write for Inc. magazine. I'm actually in this book, and this book is more than a decade old, but I'm in one of the chapters of this book. And this book talked about a lot of people who got started and didn't care about the barriers they're going to break. They didn't wait on anybody. So I really love the stories in there because a lot of us can relate to those stories. You don't have any rich family writing you a check, opening doors for you, making networks. These people had to do it essentially with their own network and build it. So Upstart to me is a really good one to motivate entrepreneurs in particular. And if they could do it, why not you? Obviously, this is going to be on there. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Come on, guys. You've heard this book over and over. You're supposed to own a copy. You're supposed to own a copy of this book. That's how important it is. This one is crucial. Measure What Matters. John Doerr, talk about how Intel grew to what it is. Google. These things are important. Objectives and key results. It's not just about KPIs, key performance indicators. You have to care about objectives and key results first. How do you use those? How do you implement them? Why do they matter? So this one is important. The Authentic Organization is one about creating psychological safety within your organization. I think that's something especially needed in the Caribbean. So psychologically safe organizations. A really good one. As an entrepreneur, Losing My Virginity, Richard Branson. As you guys know, Richard Branson is somebody I look up to big time. So that's a really good book, in my opinion. Purple Cow from Seth Godin. I really think a lot of Seth's books are great, Tribes, all these things. But for me, Purple Cow as a marketer is the most important one. If you're going to have a business, how is it going to be a purple cow? How is it going to stand out? How are you going to be different? Right? Crowded marketplace. If it's not a crowded marketplace, but it's a good opportunity and money is being made, it will become a crowded marketplace. Profit First by Mike McCullough, close friend of mine. I brought Mike to Jamaica twice as the first person to bring him to Jamaica. He has his book, Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. I was one of the 4 people on the back of that book on the cover to endorse it. One of the guys used to host a show on CNBC as well. So Mike wrote this other book called Profit First, and I really, really love that book because it talks about, right, we are taught revenue minus expenses equal profit. And he said, well, that's an equation. So that means we can flip something around. So how about expenses minus profit equal revenue? Revenue minus expenses equal profit. So how about revenue minus profit equal expenses? Decide from day one, small profit margin, and design for that. Separate accounts, make it easy for you to track your money between revenue, the taxes, the operating expenses, and ensure that you make a profit. It might start with 1%, but it's a really good book. He has some good videos related to that. So Profit First for me is mandatory for every business I want to invest in, especially the smaller ones. I think it's straightforward. My second book, The Pumpkin Plan, I really recommend as well because he wanted to look at how do these farmers win these big pumpkin contests. How the hell your pumpkins are big for that price? That's some crazy pumpkin. I mean, big like car. How? And what they found out when he went to do the research is that the farmers were like everybody else at the start. You plant your pumpkin patch and you're looking at the pumpkins. What they would do is see which ones were growing bigger already, though. And then they would cut the vines to the other pumpkins and leave, say, the 10 biggest ones so far, because they're absorbing nutrients better. And then you'd keep doing that. As you see the ones that are getting bigger faster, you cut the vines to the others, stop feeding the nutrients to those other things. And you're going to narrow the focus down to the pumpkin. That's the biggest. So we know this as a Pareto principle, right? 80-20. And 20% of the efforts actually result in 80% of the outcomes, right? 20% add up to 80%. So in any business, there's some core thing that is generating the most revenue for the business. You need to narrow that and stop having these other things, suck time, suck capital, and suck team members away. Focus, get narrow. And this is what Steve Jobs did when he first came back to Apple after being CEO. He cut down all the extraneous things they were doing, so many different products, and narrowed it down to 4 products. 4 products, the man say. We're going to consumer, and we're going to the pro, and we're going to the portable, and we're going to desktop. And that was it, 4 things, and let's go narrow first. Apple spends a lot of time putting resources into the iPhone, and then they went and launched an iPad. They have the Mac. So they narrowed their focus. They're not trying to do everything. It's not the same as some of these other companies that do 100 different things and they're sucking out resources. You want to be able to narrow your focus and make sure that you're doing really good and supporting the winners even more. Yeah, that's important. These 2 books are crucial: Good to Great and Built to Last. So Good to Great is how you take an organization from good to being great. Built to Last is how you build a great organization. The most important concept in there is a hedgehog concept. And I think that's important, right? A hedgehog is really good at one thing. They don't need to do everything. You need to be really good at one thing. In our case, Blue Mold Capital wants to be investors in the Caribbean. We want to be really, really good at growth equity investing, really, in the Caribbean. Let's get really, really good, know our target market, and know what we want to focus on. Now, Blackstone started in private equity. Makes sense. Narrow your focus and be really good at that. So Built to Last and Good to Great. Another concept he talks about in there that I love is about getting the right people on the bus and then figure out the seats later. A lot of us focus on finding somebody for the exact position. We care about the position more about the person, if it's a good fit or not. You can't care as much about the position. If you find somebody that has the right attitude, right? I can't teach you attitude. I can increase your aptitude, though. I can do some training. I can train you. But you need to have the right attitude. Then I can bring in and I figure out where in the organization it can help me. But as long as you have the right attitude, you should bring that person. And one of the case studies I talk about is Commerce Bank and the way they used to work. They would give their employees a little card. And when they would get good customer service somewhere, especially a waiter or waitress, they'd give them the card and say, hey, you should call this number and consider applying to come and work for Commerce Bank. They figure they can train anybody to be a good teller or customer service agent. They can't teach them to have a smile on their resting face, to have a certain disposition when dealing with people. So I love that. Small Giants is by Bo Burlingham. This one is a good one because it makes you realize you don't have to become a Fortune 500 company. You don't need to build Amazon. You don't need to go public. You can build a small business that's a giant in its own industry and stay private. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am going public because I want to give easy access to retail investors. That's why I need to be public. If I could have done this without going public, I would have done it. I just can't. Regulatory-wise, I can't do it. So you're not going to work. Most of you will never have to go public. You can be a small giant. This is your book. Built to Sell by John Warrilow. I love this book because it talks about systems and processes to put in place in order to sell the business, even if you don't want to sell the business. If you design your business to be sold, it means it's going to run amazingly well. Systems and processes. So I love Built to Sell for that. Seth Godin with the dip, for me, is a really good one because all entrepreneurs go through this dip. We're going to have air pockets that we hit and we drop in some pothole and mash at the front end of the car, right? We go through dips. Every business goes through dips. You even go through personal dips. How do you deal with that and power out of the dip? And this book has been very helpful for me in that one. Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell, as you know, who has a Jamaican mother. Big up St. Mary, I believe. I think it's St. Mary. But Outliers, great. How are you going to get those 10,000 hours of practice? Whether or not the 10,000 hours is really the number, the concept behind it is really good. You want to become really good by having diligent practice, right? Diligent practice. Whether you're going to try and be LeBron James for your generation, or Messi, or Cristiano Ronaldo, or whatever it is. Outliers. How are you going to be an outlier in whatever you do? So you should be aiming to be an outlier. I think you should be allergic to average. We have Blue Ocean Strategy, W. Chan Kim. Everybody that has done an MBA know this one. Blue Ocean Strategy. We're not trying to compete with everybody. We're going over here. Blue Moho Capital. It's literally a Blue Ocean Strategy business. Nobody's trying to do what we're doing for the Caribbean, right? The way we're doing it. We're going after retail investors. Most people don't like them. They don't want to do it. Great. Of course, I care a lot about customer service. I think if you have poor customer service, you deserve to go out of business. That's just the way it is. You're here to solve a problem for your customers. So why would your customer service be poor? So Delivering Happiness for me is a really good book. Tony Shea, unfortunately, right, committed suicide or whatever. But Zappos, that's the guy that launched Zappos. So Delivering Happiness matters. Are your customers happy? How can you deliver happiness? And then these are now for the investors, right? The people like me who wanted to build investment firms. So The Warren Buffett Way. It's a really good book to understand Warren Buffett's approach to investing. I think that's a crucial one. Reginald Lewis, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? So this got me understanding private equity and leverage buyouts, because I worked at a PE firm and they gave me this book. King of Capital is a story of how the founding of Blackstone, how Blackstone was founded, but a shorter version. And then What It Takes is by Stephen Schwarzman, the co-founder of Blackstone, and a much more detailed story of how he founded Blackstone and what his entrepreneurial journey looked like. So these are the books that for me are required reading for business if you're going to work at Blue Moho Capital. I recommended reading for outsiders, and I love sending it to people all the time. So you got me to go through the books and why I love these books. And next time I'll go through the list of videos. I have a list of recommended videos, key videos to watch is what I call them. And these all sit in my little note sections. I can quickly copy them and then send them to people. So if you want me to send this book list to you or the key videos to watch, just send me a direct message on whichever platform you're watching this on, and I'll send it to you. Right? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'll happily share them with you. I think it's important. Sanjay is saying thanks for the list. Those books have been crucial. They're on my library. They're back here, right? I have books back here on my list, and all those books are here. Psychology of Money and Warren Buffett Way are sitting right here. I have What It Takes sitting right here. I can quickly jump into those books. So I practice what I preach. These are books that are sitting right here. So when you're saying, thanks, Mr. Mullings, it sure was an awesome session. Great book list. Emma, thank you. This is the stuff I love doing. I love sharing with people. I love getting us smarter. So before we leave, I'm going to show you something. I went to Barnes & Noble last night, and I bought this thing here, a bag of books. I didn't need a bag, it's funny. And I wanted to show you what I bought so you can see what I'm reading now, or what I'm about to read. And Warren, it's not Warren Buffett. Bill Gates does this thing called Think Weeks. He'll take a whole week, he'll go away and just sit in the mountains and be in the cabin, no phone, internet, and just read for a week. And then his family knows not to bother him. And I can't wait to do that. So send you the list. DM me so I can send you the list. So here are the things that I picked up. So I've never actually read this one. Peter Lynch, One Up on Wall Street. So another famous investor. So I want to check it out and compare his approach to Warren Buffett. He's a value investor as well. So you say, I've been following this book list. I keep learning. I love big up Shikisha. I love that. And then I picked up a copy of Foreign Affairs, the latest issue. There were two specific articles I wanted to read. We had one that was The Populist Bantam, Threat to Democracy Start at the Top, and How to End the Democratic Recession. The Fight Against Autocracy Needs a New Playbook. So I love reading Foreign Affairs. It's really good to hear from much smarter people than me who are doing research and sharing things that's happening around the world. Geopolitics matters in investing, in my opinion, so we care about that. And I picked up 3 sets of Harvard Business books. So they have this sequence of HBR's 10 must-reads. So right here, I actually have this one. So this one is for CEOs. So this is HBR's 10 must-reads for CEOs. I've given copies of this to other CEOs of companies I have invested in. And so they have a bunch more. So this one here is on building a great culture. So it has 10 key case studies, 10 must-reads. So I love this. So this one, for example, this book will inspire you to see what your company culture is currently like and what it could be. Explore your company's emotional culture. Gather input on what needs to be fixed or initiated. Improve collaboration. Foster a culture of trust. Articulate the new culture's mission, values, and expectations. Deal with resistance and roadblocks. Man, I think a lot of people can use this book in them job right now. Just give it to your boss, right? And then this one here is on high performance. So of course, this, set yourself on the path to greatness. You kind of like that. And it says this book will inspire you to identify the patterns that are holding you back, turn weaknesses into strengths and strengths into success, form the right habits to reach your goals, right? Good habits matter. Focus on the work that matters most. Avoid the pitfalls of being a star performer and set the stage for others to excel. So that's what this book is going to do. Man, I can't wait to read these, right? I want to do an offsite with the whole team and we're going to spend like 3 days in Jamaica or something. And of course, this last one on trust. Right? We are building a company that's going public. It has shareholder capital. Trust matters more than anything else. Trust is the most important currency for the kind of business I'm doing. So this book will inspire you to develop trust through competence, legitimacy, and impact. Understand the neuroscience of trust. Interesting. Follow through on your commitments to stakeholders. And I love that it's stakeholders and not just shareholders, right? Negotiate better with an untrustworthy counterpart. So that sounds like some real, what we call it. Oh, I know I forget what that term is called. Oh, game theory. So that's all about game theory. You see your company through the eyes of your customers. Man, I know some companies that need to read that one. And then lastly, rebuild relationships after a breakdown of trust. We've all been there. So those are the books that I have bought to go and read. I don't know when. I need to make time. I'm traveling. I'll take a little one with me and go read. But those are the things that I've bought, and I'll read them by the end of this year. And then I'll make notes, and I'll put the notes into my phone, and that way I can look back at it constantly. But that's what I'm doing. I'm always reading, always trying to get smarter, and then I want to share it with my team, and then share it with the people who invest into their companies. I know I'm sharing it with the world via this live stream. So this person, the Brooklyn Botanist, is saying, oh gosh, the Brooklyn Botanist on Instagram is saying, Michael Leachin said you were the most loyal student to his framework of wealth creation. What was it about the framework or principles that made you such a diligent student? All right, so I'm going to correct the record. What Mike said is that I'm his greatest student ever. It's not just that I'm loyal to the framework of wealth creation, because that's the framework he's put together, the 5 laws of wealth creation. It's not even principles anymore, right? Imagine that Mike and I are talking, and I said to him that he needs to be posting more stuff on social media. He has a Twitter account and Instagram account, but he needs to post more because despite being the richest black man in Canada, and he was on the cover of Black Enterprise, Black Americans don't get to see him and learn from it because he's not as visible here in America, and he needs to use social media to get over that. I said, okay, well, give me something to post. So I jump into Canva and go and design this little infographic of the 5 laws of wealth creation. He calls them the 5 principles of wealth creation. So I send him the image. And he come back and say, this looks good, but why would you rename it laws of wealth creation? I've been calling it principles since like the 80s. Why would you rename it? I said, Mike, you have 3 companies that have grown to be worth at least $1 billion US. 3 of them, right? NCB Financial Group. That went right today. This is that before, right? NCB Financial Group. Before that was AIC. Second one was Flow Columbus Communications, which he then sold. And then the third one is a German nuclear bioscience company that's doing nuclear cancer treatment. So this is precision oncology, right? Radionuclide therapy. So that's 3 of them recent. One before that. So you've done this 4 times. It's not called the principle of gravity. Once it's proven, it becomes a law. It's the law of gravity. Well, this is now proven and proven again. So it's the 5 laws of wealth creation. And Mike replies to me, this on WhatsApp, and he says, the teacher is now the student. I was just like, oh man. I said, yes, sensei. I remember Dad was beside me and I showed that, and Dad was just, his eyes showed at his head exploded. Like, wow, the billionaire is saying he's now your student. So And then I said, yes, sensei, because I want him to understand that I see him at this level, regardless of how I'm glad that he's learning something from me. That means it's give and take, right? We are sharing, we're learning from each other. And that's the best kind of relationship when both of you are learning. Because iron sharpens iron. That's the way it needs to be. It can't just be one way and I'm just taking from that person. You need to be giving as well. So in terms of what made me such a big student of Mike and a serious student is I saw what he accomplished. I studied Warren Buffett and I wanted to execute on that. Then I found somebody who was more like me who followed the same Warren Buffett playbook. So, right, Warren Buffett, baby boomer, white American, father is a senator. I don't have the same things. Mike at least is a Jamaican from Jamaica that goes to a North American country, gets into investment management, scales, becomes a billionaire, gives back massively. That's more relatable. So it's easier for me to see myself achieving that because he has done it before. So what are his frameworks? How is he approaching his life? What allowed him to get to that point? Great. Let me go study that guy because that's what I want to do as well. I want to have the same level of impact or bigger. I want to have that kind of opportunity to give as much and impact the way business is done and change the way other people think about their ambition and how far they could go. So that is why I became such a good student, because I had seen it work and it was somebody that we both already looked up to. So that's the thing, right? If I am studying this person and somebody else come and I realize they're a student who is ahead of me, but they're following the same program, oh man, great. I'll look up to them. And that's really what it was. And so I know what I'm trying to do. And he's done it before. And that's why I listen to him so much. I should not be changing the recipe. The recipe makes sense. I can do some things differently now in terms of how I deploy the recipe because I have the internet as my advantage. Mike had to knock on doors to get mutual fund investors, retail investors, when he first launched AIC, when he bought it in 1987 and Berkshire Securities. I was born in 1981. He was born January 51. I'm January 81. So 30 years apart, I could be his son. And we had this discussion when he said, I will exceed him. And I was like, oh, how you expect me to exceed you? And I said, you have one advantage I didn't have. And I said, I have two. Number one, he's like, well, what's number one? I was like, number one, I have you to learn from. I'll never make your mistakes. I'll only make new mistakes. And he says, that's true, but that's not the one I was going to tell you. What is the advantage you have that I didn't have in 81 that you have now? What's the one I was going to tell you? And I said, oh, that's too easy. It's the internet. I have the internet. I was born in 81. I saw the invention of the internet. I got to see analog and digital. I will never have to pick up the phone and cold call a prospect or knock on a door to get an investor. I can run ads on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google. I can use the internet to my advantage. It so happens that I used to run a digital marketing agency, and I ran digital marketing for a fairly large, the largest mortgage provider in the Caribbean, and I did it here for a very large mutual fund company in the US as well. So I understand digital marketing to go to retail investors in the financial services space. So I get to layer all of that on top of what I'm doing, and then I can use that for good. That's the whole point, guys. I get to use this to help other people. And I remember Mike said, see, you have an advantage. That's great. You really are smart. And I said, yeah, not smart enough to shut up and let the teacher teach. And then he's laughing. So that's the kind of relationship that we have. We can joke. We can be serious if we need to. He understands that I listen, and then I will send him stuff. He sends me some of his presentations to go over before he does them. I remember talking to his COO, Rogerio, the other day before Jesus, it's last November. Rogerio is there telling me, oh, David, this is why. I should give you the full story. So a friend of mine was with me in Miami. We're at the JW Marriott Hotel, which is attached to our office. The day before Mike presents at the conference as a keynote, I'm there. We talk, have our meeting, and he says, all right, meet with Rogerio tomorrow. I fly in the trainer, but I'll dial into the meeting. And we sit there at 6 p.m. at the bar. And my friend wants to introduce himself and tell him what he's doing, private credit real estate space. So I let my friend introduce himself. And I said, all right, Roger, introduce yourself and tell him what you are doing. And with Mike, I said, actually, no, pause. This is a great chance for me to try and pitch and explain what you guys are working on now with the two main funds. Let me pitch and talk about what you're doing, and then you can grade me so I know what to update, what to change, right? I want a chance to do the pitch now. And so I end up explaining to them. I was like, all right, so you're talking about PRT, precision radionuclide therapy. Cancer treatment has not changed for the last 100 years. You're going to look at stuff like, as we know, chemotherapy, for example, and radiation, killing the good cells with the bad cells. Well, peptide radionuclide therapy is what we want to be doing. And then the second option, the second fund we're looking at is for energy. The next billionaires are going to be creating the energy space. We have to reduce the amount of carbon that we're using in our energy system. We need to decarbonize our energy sources. We can't run factories and so forth on solar. It just don't work. Solar, wind, these are intermittent sources of power. You need baseload power. The only reasonable thing that's clean to replace baseload power is nuclear SMR, small modular reactor technology, which is what you put in the nuclear submarine. What happens when you can do that at scale and they do it on a factory? So I explained that. And then I done, and Roger just put down him drink. I remember man put down him glass and said, David, this is why Mike loves you. I said, love? No, man, love is a very strong word, And he said, no, Mike literally loves you. He talks about you at least once a week to the whole team, and this is why. We can tell you something one time. We give you the information one time, and you can present it better than we do. I don't need to be in this meeting. I don't need to be in this meeting. You can take over everything. And I've never forgotten that. To me, it's a compliment when somebody says, man, you're a really good student. Like you actually listen, synthesize information, you can now explain it to somebody else. And you don't have to give me it one time. But that is something that I believe is important. You have to decide you want to be a really good student. And then go and be a good student, which means you need to actually know the information. You need to understand it and then go from there. It's not about memorizing it. Memorizing is not enough to be a good student. That's to pass an exam. You need to actually know the stuff. So if I had to read a chapter 3 times in my biology class, then I'd read it 3 times to get it. I would take notes in class. I would go back home and then I'd have a second notebook to rewrite my notes into, so I can scribble quickly in class, and I go home and have a second notebook. I still have some of those notebooks from undergrad right here in a box at home. Right? That was how I took notes. So it's the same way somebody presents, I get information synthesized, go back home, I need to be able to explain it to somebody. I can call my wife, I talk to my parents, my 12-year-old, I need to explain to them, what are we doing? She's an art teacher, that is a medical doctor, mom is a nurse, and I have a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old. The 6-year-old still don't get it. But if they can understand it, what are we doing? Why are we invested in this? Where's the opportunity? If they can understand it, then anybody can understand it. But it means that I understand it. If I can't explain it to a 10-year-old, I don't understand it well enough. That is how I was raised by my parents. So that's the approach, guys. I love this. We're going to wrap up because I have a 2 o'clock Zoom call that I have to do. I did a 2:15 Zoom call. So I'm jumping off one and jumping into a very important call with JP Morgan. So super excited. This is great. LinkedIn user is saying, iron sharpen iron. Very insightful. I look forward to doing more of these. We'll try to keep them to hour and a half, but this was the first one. We're testing it. I'm going to start getting a schedule going and try to do these Wednesdays lunchtime. I think that is important that I share. I remember what Michael Leaton said to me when I asked, what do I owe you for doing all of this for me? I'm not your child. You don't owe me anything, and you're so giving. You're opening these doors and you're opening my mind. What do I owe? And he says, you don't owe me anything. What you need to do is you have to pay it forward and always exceed expectations when you interact with people. That's all he required. He said, everything I'm going to show you is not to be kept to yourself. It's to be shared with the world to help other people achieve what they want to achieve, right? So I see people saying, love this, learned a lot. Thank you, David. Thanks. Good lunchtime, David. I love this one. Agree with the laws, principles of business. Want to add how remarkable women lead. Breakthrough model for work and life is a solid book for women in leadership. All right, interesting one. Obviously, I'm not a woman, so your life is a little bit different. Next person is saying, we'll catch up next Wednesday edition. I love that you're holding me to this. Yeah, oh man, female version. Thank you for another great session. All the best. I've seen Darius Rose is saying amazing. I appreciate the opportunity to learn from your experience. Man, I just love sharing. Right? Anything could happen to me later. This is now recorded, is out there. My kids can see this and learn from it. You guys get to learn from it. You can show other people. You can show your team members, right? You might start a business and want to show some of the people you bring it on board. This is what fills me. I'll be honest. This fills me with joy, and I genuinely love this. So let's figure out the topic for the next one, and let's keep it going. So thank you for spending the time with me. I love this. I appreciate you. I know you could do other stuff with your time right now, or if you're watching this after the recording, you don't have to spend any time listening to me or watching this. So I value every single minute that you have lent to me, and I hope that it's going to pay off for you. And then please pay it forward to other people. That's all I'm going to ask. Pay it forward to other people. So signing off now, guys. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks.